All right, today for Algebra 2, we are doing 1.5, day 3 over here. So we are applying equations and we're going to do some simple interest problems. All right, so we're focusing on day 3. Okay, so our objective is to solve problems involving the simple interest formula, which is PRT equals I. That's kind of actually a backwards way to say it. Most of the time when you hear it, you're going to hear I equals PRT, but it's the same difference. All right, so we still have our problem solving steps to read carefully, to plan, to solve, and to check. We're also adding to it today the simple interest formula. Okay, so that I equals PRT. Okay, where P is the principal. Okay, so P stands for principal. No, it's PAL, not like the principal as in Mrs. Moore. And it's always the amount of money invested or borrowed. It's the amount of money that we're talking about. The initial amount of money, you might say. R, okay, is the annual interest rate. Okay, this is always written as a decimal. Okay, you always have to convert it to a decimal and not a percent. T is time of the investment or loan, and it is in years. Okay, it's in years. And I is the amount of interest, okay, on the investment or the loan. So anytime you're borrowing money, or like if you're borrowing money, then it's the interest on the loan. If you're investing it in stocks or bonds or in a CD, you're getting paid that interest, okay, instead of having to pay it. All right, so let's dive right in with some examples. So example 3, because again, this is example 3 from the textbook that you're given, since we've made this section multiple days long. All right, so Mr. Jones makes $904.50, and he makes this annually, so we know every year, on a total of $9,500 invested in 2 accounts. Okay, so we have 2 accounts. One pays 9% annual interest, and the other paying 10.5% annual interest. How much is invested in each account? Okay, so when we look at our chart, we've got 2 things. Okay, these are for our 2 accounts. So we have one account that pays 9% interest, one account that pays 10.5% interest. All right, so we can go ahead and put that in for our rate. Okay, that's the interest rate. But again, this interest rate has to be a decimal. So 9% is 0.09 as a decimal. 10.5% is going to be 0.105. Okay, hopefully you remember that, right? If we take the decimal to make it from a percent to a decimal, we move the decimal point 2 places because we're dividing by 100. So 9, we move it 2 places. It would be 0.09. Okay, so hopefully you remember that. Okay, I'm going to erase those so they're not in the way. Okay, so that's our interest though, or our interest rate. So we put in there. The time, okay, so if we go ahead and think about the time, they've invested this, let's see, Mr. Jones makes $904.50, pardon me, got tongue-tied, annually. So that's in 1 year. So our time for both of these accounts is 1. And our principal, okay, so this is what we don't know. We know we have a total of $9,500 invested, but we don't know how much is in each one. So we can just say, well, there's X amount in this account, in our 9% account, which means in the other account, it has to be 9,500 minus X. So it's the total 9,500 or 9,500 minus however much is in this account. Okay, then if you recall from our formula, okay, we're going to take the principal, multiply it by the rate and the time, and that's going to equal our interest. So our interest here is 0.09x, and for other one, it's 0.105 times the quantity, 9,500 minus 0.105. Oh, wait. No, I'm sorry, minus x. What am I doing? Hey, at least I caught it today, unlike last week. All right, there we go. Okay. So there are our formulas. Now, the only thing that we have not used yet is this Mr. Jones makes $904.50. So what that means is the interest that he's paid on this account at 9% and the account at 10.5%, the interest he's paid for both of those combined is that $904.50. 904.50. That's a little hard to see. My page is running off. So when we're writing our equation, that's what we're going to get. Okay, we're going to say, well, 0.09x plus the second interest quantity, 0.105 times 9,500 minus x. If I add those two quantities, I'm going to get $904.50. Okay. Now, if you're using a calculator, you can go ahead and use your calculator. If you don't have a calculator, I want to remind you of a technique to solve this. Okay, you remember you can clear your decimals out of your equation if you multiply by 10 or 100 or 1,000 or 10,000, whatever you need to move all your decimals. So in this case, this number, the 0.105 is my largest, so I would need to move my decimal 3 places. So I would multiply by this by 1,000 to clear those decimals, which would make my new problem 90x plus 105. Remember, I don't multiply inside the parentheses, just distribute it to the number outside. And that equals 904,500. So 904,500. Okay, so it's the same problem. I just cleared the decimals by multiplying by 1,000, which again, you don't have to do, especially if you have a calculator. You know, you could go ahead and work with the decimals perfectly fine and not have to worry about it. All right, so then we would distribute here. So I'd have 90x plus 105 times 9,500 would be 997,500 minus 105x equals 904,500. We would do some math. So I'm going to subtract my 997,500 from both sides. And I'm going to go ahead and do 90x minus 105x, which would give me a negative 15x. So I kind of did 2 steps in one there. And this equals negative 93,000 divide by negative 15. And x would equal 6,200. Okay. So now I need to make some sense of that. Because here's my x, right? So that means that in my 9%, at my 9% rate, I have invested, or Mr. Jones has invested, $6,200 at the 9% interest rate. And then you would need to do some math, right? What's to find out your 10.5% interest rate? So you'd need to do the 9,500, too many zeros, 9,500 minus x, so minus the 6,200, would be 3,300. So at the 10.5% interest, Mr. Jones invested $3,300. Okay, so again, this table, setting up a table to organize your thinking and your work is going to be very, very helpful because there's just a lot of information. And it is not just plug it in and walk on. Okay, it takes some time to figure it out. All right, let's look at example 3.2. Okay, so a merchant has 2 loans totaling $25,000. The simple interest rates are 7% and 8.5%. If the annual interest charge on the 7% loan is $520 more than the 8.5% loan, how much did he borrow at each rate? Okay, so we've got two loans totaling $25,000. We have 7%, 8.5%. Okay, so I go ahead and label those. Let's see, so then we know it's annual. Okay, so we know our time is 1 year. And the interest charge on the 7% loan, so interest on the 7% loan is $520 more than the 8.5% loan. Okay. We could go ahead and put our rate in. I'm sorry, I put those as labels, but 7% would be 0.07. 8.5% would be 0.08 for 8%, and then we have the 5. The principal, okay, we know, kind of like the last one, we know we have two loans totaling $25,000. We don't know which one is which. So we're going to have X and then $25,000 minus X for our other loan. We know that our interest equals the PRT. So our interest here is going to be 0.07X. Here, it's going to be the 0.085 times that quantity, 25,000 minus X. So you're probably wondering, well, what about this part? The 7% loan is $520 more than the 8.5% loan. So we know this one is $520 more than the 8.5%. Okay, so because we know that, okay, we're trying to think about, well, how do I set this up? On the last one, we knew the total interest earned, right? We knew that it was $904.50. So we added these two interest rates, or these two amounts of interest, pardon me, not the rates, but the two amounts of interest to get the total $904.50. Here, we know this one is $520 more than this one. So it's like, oh, well, we could set them equal if we could take this money into consideration. So what we would do is we could either add that to here, like that this amount plus 520 is equal to this, or we could say the 7% interest minus 520 is equal to the 8.5% interest. Whichever way you want to set that up is totally fine. I picked to subtract it. I know that in class that probably won't be the case necessarily when you guys do it on your own. That's okay. But let's look at this. So that's going to make my equation 0.07x minus 520 equals 0.085 times the quantity 25,000 minus x. All right. And so I was able to set them equal. Okay, I was able to set them equal here because I took into account that $520 extra. I subtracted it so they would be equal. All right, this one I'm going to do without clearing any decimals. We're just going to leave the decimals as they are. So then I've got, we need to distribute over here. So 0.07x minus 520 equals 2,125 minus 0.085x. All right, then let's add 520. So I have 0.07x equals 2,645 minus 0.085x. Okay, then I'm going to add the 0.085 to both sides. And I end up getting 0.155x equals 2,645. I'm going to divide by 0.155. And x equals $17,064.52. Okay. Again, okay, so I'm able to solve this a little bit quicker because I've already done my math. I'm looking at my note sheet. If you're using your calculator, it's going to take a little bit longer. So again, you don't think you have to clear out your decimals. You may use a calculator to do this math. Okay, that is no problem. So we've got our X here, and X is our 7% interest. So in our 7% account, the merchant has invested $17,064.52. So then in our 8.5% account, we would need to do some subtraction, right? 25,000 minus the $17,064.52. And that would get $7,935.48 is how much is invested in that account. Okay, so sometimes you're going to have to add your interests. Sometimes you're going to set the interests equal to each other like we did here. It is a problem-solving game, totally a problem-solving game here. All right, the last one I saved to be your easiest. I don't know, that pink, you guys will have to let me know if the pink is too hard to see in the future. So, okay, next up, after I sneeze. Excuse me, sorry about that. All right, example 3.3. How much total interest is earned in 1 year? Ooh, that's nice, so we know our time is 1 year. From $3,000 in an account earning 4%. Whoa, this is so easy. We have $3,000 in an account earning 4%. So I'm going to write 4% over here, but I need to make my rate a decimal, so 0.04. Annual interest. And what? $2,500 in an account earning 6%. So I've got $2,500 in an account earning 6%, which means my rate is 0.06. I don't have any unknowns, like not a single one. See, that's why I said I saved this one for you. So if I would find my interest, so remember that's my principal times my rate times my time. So 3,000 times 0.04 equals 120. For my 6% interest account, I've got $2,500 times 0.06. That equals 150 for my interest. And the question says, how much total interest is earned? So what should I do with 120 and 150? Yeah, I should add them together. So 120 plus 150 equals 270. So it's $270 earned total. Okay. See, that one was so much nicer, so much easier. What a way to end it. Okay. All right. So you have 3 even homework answers there. I tried to make sure that they were accurate this time since they were wrong last time. And you do have a few odds as well, but that way you can get them all done. So just a few problems and you can go ahead and get started. See you guys tomorrow.